Hey, what's up, good people? I am Nate, your host of the You Thought I Was Him podcast series. Being brought to you by Troy Burton Creative Consulting. We'll bring him on shortly to explain his business and where we are with this process. The You Thought I Was Him podcast series is a collection of conversation amongst the community members of Baltimore and sometimes beyond. In lieu of our uh, what do you call it project that we're doing. We will be having these conversations with a number of individuals, entrepreneurs, artists, and general community members surrounding many topics of the You Thought I Was Him project, indirectly and directly topic subjects. Today we'll be talking about I Own My Own Ass. The importance of owning your work and us being a collective black community owning our own, so we're not looking outside ourselves all the time or looking for that validation outside ourselves to achieve and to do our work and tell our stories. And we have a number of individuals on this program tonight that will be talking about their process and who they are and all that jazz. So without any further ado, I'm going to invite the producer and director onto the screen. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but everything is repeating.
Oh, so what am I going to do? I think I'm going to. Can you still? You can hear me though. You can. Can you hear me, Troy?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So I'm gonna take this myself. So we're gonna. So first of all, Troy, tell us real quick a little bit about.
It's repeating to the point where I can't.
You can't even hear it. What is going on? So let's take a quick little break, and then we'll be right back.
I think that there's a way to what black people have been in a space so long where we look at peace of mind and dignity as luxuries, right? Like you can't be tired. Like you depressed. You depressed. Get up and go to work, right? And so I think that that's the trauma, right? But there's a way to pass history down without passing down the trauma.
Yeah.
And what I hear you asking is to pass down, not, would you please not pass your trauma down to us, right? We have to find a balance, right? Because we're out of communication. And this is a medium for that communication where we get to talk. But what we have to be careful as the older people, I'm 51, to hear what younger people are asking.
Right.
This is not a what's more important or who's better or who's this or I had this and you had this. This is saying I don't know that part of you, help me learn that. Right? And let me teach you who I am.
Right. Yes.
Because who I am as an individual is important, and we did that for them. And he's saying, we know you did that, but let us have this now. Because we're grown ups. See our heads.
When I'm gone, you gonna miss me when I'm gone. Gonna miss me by my head, gonna miss me everywhere. You're gonna miss me when I'm gone. For the long way round, 2 bottles of whiskey for the way. And I sure would like some sweet company. And I'm leaving tomorrow, what do you say? When I'm gone, you gonna miss me when I'm gone.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Technology. You can't live with it or without it. So,
Praise God. Praise God for the technical difficulties.
yes, yes, yes.
Hmm.
So, we're this is episode number 2. We had a really
Hmm.
great episode number 1.
Yes.
We've had our first community conversation. That was the clip that we saw out front, the first one. But where are we now with the You Thought I Was 10 project? What part of the
Well,
phase are we in now?
we're actually in the last part of the first phase, going
Mm-hmm.
into the second part. We've actually opened our writers' room. We have a wonderful team of writers who are beginning to meet, and you will meet them soon.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have our characters fleshed out. We have our storyline fleshed out, and I'm going to make a couple announcements tonight. Some things as they develop. This show is now taking on. It is a play, but I'm using the phrase a theatrical mixtape
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to a play because of the style it will be presented. I mean, I'm a certain age, but I know how to jump in there. I know what the young people are listening to, but I want to
Mm-hmm.
bring them into the theater and say, hey, a lot of things that you all listen to, hey, we're aware of them and we know how to put them effectively into the art form of theater.
And it's really a process. I mean, unlike the productions you've done before, you are known for your chroeopoem style productions, and this is in line with that, but it's still a
Hmm.
little separate in that hip hop will be kind of at, in the mix of it, and we're
Hmm.
going to use a lot of the elements of a chroeopoem. It's just going to be a little bit more um, interactive, I'll say.
Yeah, the Korea poem, like I said before, the style is was invented by Intisaki Shange,
Hmm.
and for Color Girls when it was on Broadway in the '70s, and a lot of people have adapted that style, and I've used it as a style that I like to do too because I can take various elements of what I know I'm really good at, and I can pour into that and kind of mix things up. But now I'm saying the Korea poem had a child, and it's called a
Mm.
theatrical mixtape.
There we go. And I'm loving just the energy behind this. We're doing these projects to kind of circle all of the content that we'll have inside of it. And you just mentioned we have started the writers room portion of the project, which is bringing out all types of stories and information and history and just subject matter that needs to be addressed and
Yeah.
readdressed and when it comes to history as well. But this topic today, I own my own ass. How significant is that in relations to you being a playwright and being doing productions like this that are coming from people that look like us in terms of
Well,
writing or acting and so on and so forth.
as an artist, I've always worked within some type of organization, some type of
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit organization. And so I kind of had to operate under the guidelines of either a board of directors or
Mm-hmm.
a program director or something like that. And after a period of time, you grow and you grow into your own, and then you start to have your own ideas of how you want to do things. And I was really looking at myself saying, if I can raise money, if I can do the programming and cast things, and I can do all the different things that I'm doing now for an organization, why not do it for myself? And that's when I decided to take a leap of faith in 2018 and step out of my UB Blake position and step
Mm-hmm.
into my own position and create Troy Burton Arts and Entertainment Consultant. Because it's something where when you do it for someone else, you don't own anything but a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
When you do it for yourself, you own it all. And I also saw a need in Baltimore where various types of consultants are needed for independent artists. A lot of our artists, they need mentoring.
Yeah.
And I've had many years of experiences of being in the trenches, and I feel like that I can offer our artists something because right now there was a time when you could go to an organization and be mentored as an artist, but that's not happening now. A lot of organizations are looking for the artist to bring them something to present. So I said, why not? I go out here and do it for myself, write some grants for myself, write some grants for other artists, and and let us own ourselves, make our decisions, how we want our careers to go.
That's a big part of what I've watched you do, and what I've missed. And we've had several conversations where I said, in my generation, we're kind of in between the 20 somethings and the 40 and ups, and it's kind of we missed that era of mentorship, and they're
Mhm.
still there. A lot of them haven't gone anywhere. It's just depending on what field you're in, it may be a different process now. And
Yeah.
and for me, that need to bring back mentorship is
Hmm.
necessary, because a lot of the mistakes that we're having, whether it be on the protesting side or the arts education, a lot of the mistakes that the younger individuals are making would not have to be the mistakes that we already did and now we're
Hmm.
repeating them. We wouldn't have to repeat them if we had more mentorship. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying mentorship prevents problems from happening, but it just gives you a framework to get out of it or get back up once you've been given those life punches from life, them gut
Hmm.
punches from life. And I commend you for being a person that has stayed in that realm of mentoring. No matter what phase of your life or career you're in, you've always managed to give back. And many of the people that we will be talking to today have been touched by you in that mentorship process in some capacity, including myself. How important is mentorship to you?
I mean, it's important to me because I was mentored. I had wonderful mentors in
Hmm.
Baltimore City. And if I just say a few names, Sam Wilson, Dr. Nathan Carter, who poured a
Hmm.
lot into me in reference to me being an arts administrator. In high school, I had Jewel Churn, I had Ed Terry. I had a lot of great people. Sadly, a lot of them are not here anymore,
Right.
but they poured into me. And it taught me how to build, and it taught me how to stay on the right path, and I felt like you got to pass it on, you got to pour into someone else. So
Mm.
that's very important, and I don't see it as much as I used to see it here in Baltimore. So sometimes, I look at it and say, wow, some people are just in it for the check, or they in it for whatever personal reasons, but the joy to sit back and watch when people grow and when people achieve something. That's joy. That's payment right there.
How do you think we can get back to that type of mentorship?
Well, anyone who have people who are pouring into them, you it is your responsibility to get out here and pour into someone else. And um if you don't have anyone under you, look for them. I mean, with this
Mm.
project alone, the two of the leading characters are 17-year-olds. So at some point when we have the auditions, I'm looking for two young people to actually join this cast, and there will be some mentoring,
Hmm.
along the way. They will be mentored just by the simple fact that they're in a show with experienced people who will show them the ropes of, how to step up and present something professionally. And while I'm on that topic right there, I'm going to say this. We are having auditions not August, June the 11th and June 25th. So if
Hmm.
you follow the You Thought I Was Him page, those are the two dates we're going to have our first auditions. So start preparing your monologues and whatever, and get it ready, because in June it's on and popping.
And I'm telling everybody, like, don't miss out on this. Don't overlook this. Don't wait until the show opens up to want to be a part of it. We don't get to be on the ground level, the building level of projects. Often, normally, we get to them when they get to the audition process, and that's when they start hiring and bringing on people. So take advantage of this process now, where we're having the community conversations or we're doing a podcast. Don't miss out on the process. Go to our Facebook page as well as the Instagram page at You Thought I Was Him, the letter U Thought I Was Him, and subscribe so you see all the updates. We're trying to, as Troy is, as we're doing each part of the phase, we're trying to show you the step by steps. And it's, for me, being on this side of it, I've been at the groundwork in terms of writing, but the building of a foundation or a process in theater is something that is new to me. So I'm really taking a lot of notes. how important is it for you to build this way? Because it would be easy for you to just go to a room and write something and then hire everybody you need. How important was it to involve community in the process?
Well, I thought that way originally. Say, okay, I could just go in a room and write something. I can work with one or two other people, but I wanted to do something, a production that was written by the community, performed by the community members, and
Hmm.
performed for the community. It's about community. I mean, that's something we talk about, a lot of things that happen here in Baltimore, but we forget to, the balance of community building. It's
Right.
just not about, and the piece is also about mental health. You know,
Mm.
we're not going to be preachy. We're going to be entertaining. At the same time, we're going to be educate you. That's why it was so important to have someone on the therapy side work with us as we
Hmm.
develop this project. So, and and I don't know if I could have done it this way if I was working with an organization, a nonprofit organization.
Hmm.
I, and so that's one of the reasons why I like with the topic owning our own ass. I own my own ass by creating something that I know that's good for the people, for the community. So,
And it's allowing us to be honest. Me sitting there and taking notes during the writing sessions and the community conversations is allowing me to see, often when we attach our themes and our voices to other projects, they tell us what the problem is, and we're able
mhm.
to now be honest about um, what is important. If you can message Maysa because she's coming up next, but it's allowing us to be able to tell our stories in a way, that is authentic. Just sitting and talking to the writers over the weekend, we were getting stories from each of them that was authentic stories, not just something we're pulling from a news clipping or from somebody else's thoughts, but it's actually coming. It's like all the creativity is coming from within,
Mhm.
and that
It's
that
it,
is really significant.
it's going to be an honest story. It'll be a
Yeah.
really really honest story, and it's going to be things that we normally don't see, you know, on
Hmm.
stage. We certain characters that you don't normally see on stage in terms of a black
Mm.
family. So it's something that I'm just saying
Mm. It's
you got
it's
to.
killing me not to talk about it on
No, we're
this
not going to tell it.
level,
We're
but
not going
I
to tell it
know.
because you got to buy a ticket. And,
I
and
what I will say is, uh, after seeing this production, like Troy's previous productions, like A Real Nigga Show or like a August Wilson series, you will begin to look at the men in your life with a different set of eyes. And you won't be so quick to measure them by superficial measuring sticks. You'll begin
yeah.
to really look at the backstory of people.
Hmm.
Right now we see people calling Kanye crazy and loony, but I think something like this, we'll start looking at men like that with a better set of eyes
Yeah.
and a more open heart.
Hmm. And and I'll say this again. This show is not really related to the a real nigga show. It's
Hmm.
something that kind
Yeah.
of you know it's almost like a spin off from it.
Hmm.
There
Hmm.
was one character that was mentioned in the real nigga show, um, Kevin Alexander Brown.
Mm.
And we're taking his story and spinning it off where you see, his mother and his father and his uncle and his cousin and his story and his life and things like that. None of that was in the real nigga show, so it's just a
Okay.
spinoff. So
I really I'm excited for us. Um, we have a number of guests today that we are going to be interviewing. Can you, while we're waiting for Maysa to come back on, can you talk about the individuals that we are? Well, she's back on now. Can you give her an introduction for us?
okay, well, Mesa Leak is my best friend, my sister. Um, we my partner in crime. We get out here and we find things and make things happen, and
Mm,
and we made a promise to each other when we were at Morgan State University that we will always have each other's backs in our careers. And that was well over 30 something years ago, and we're
mm,
still there. And I've watched her go. go on and take leaps and bounds in her career, and I watched her um, be a boss, when it comes to running her career and maintaining who she is. And I've walked the red carpet of the Grammys with her, all of that. I got the phone
Mm,
call when she won a Soul Train award. And I mean, just she's someone who Baltimore needs to celebrate her more. And she's someone that's true to her art form.
mm.
She's true to her art form. She's true to her music. She's true to her business. She'll tell you got to pay the band, but she's also one of the greatest friends, in the world, and she's proven that many times over. So you got it. Bring her on so we can talk some stuff.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, bro.
You're
How
welcome.
are you? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited about the show. Excited about Troy's, new project. I've been there. I was the producer of the first run of a real nigga show, and we had a really good time with that. And I've just watched, over the years how it's. I mean, it was like 18 years now, Troy. Almost 20 years now that we
Yeah,
started.
next year, Real Nigga Show be 20 years old.
20 years old. See, that's what I'm talking
Mm.
about. And so just to know that, and that every time Detroit puts it up, it sells out. So that lets you know that the community really wants to hear these stories. And so to expand upon those stories today is going, and this at this time is going to be fantastic.
So as Troy said, it is really time, and you've gotten your roses literally around the world. But the reason I stay in Baltimore, the reason I still continue to create and work here, is because there's something special about Baltimore,
Yeah,
and I just feel like it hasn't been totally uncovered yet, and there's so
right,
much stuff bubbling and waiting to burst. Um,
right.
and I think we have the possibility to be the next Atlanta or the next LA if we
Mm-hmm.
just figured out that unity aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Being a Baltimorean, a Morganite, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
How is it for you to still be here and create and be an international artist from this area?
Um, I mean, I stay grounded at home. Home, Baltimore keeps me pretty grounded. My family does, and I just being with my family is probably the most important thing. I mean, when I was living in
Mhm.
London, uh, I loved living in London, but I was so far away from my family; it was very difficult.
Mhm.
Just being surrounded by family, being surrounded by Baltimore, and everybody I know here is important. I mean, we have a lot of issues in Baltimore that need to be resolved. But this is a really great city. There's a lot of love, a lot of realness here, and
Mhm.
of course, I mean, the whole world. I mean, when I got to England, the whole world was talking about the wire, the wire, the wire, the wire. And so, and
Mhm.
it was so amazing that people were talking about Baltimore. It was really cool to go around the world. Japan, I mean, didn't matter. Russia, wherever we went, it was about the wire back in the day. So to let you know that how real Baltimore is and how
Mhm.
people can relate to it. So to be an artist from here and work from here is something I probably will always do. I don't have any plans of moving anywhere else. So I think this is
Okay.
it.
So, in terms of our topic for today, owning your own ass, as
Hmm.
Troy has labeled it, how do you define that? I know now you have your own record label.
Hmm.
So, was that the beginnings of you owning your own ass, or where did that process start?
Well, thank you, Joy.
Oh, her latest album
Okay.
coming out.
Yeah. I started it. I pretty much run my career myself from day one.
Hmm.
I mean, I've made every decision. Uh, I've taken advice from people. I had some managers here and there that didn't work out. Had one manager steal money from me, and that was the end of that. So I haven't had any more managers at all, except for maybe
Hmm.
one that was pretty cool. And I'll tell you more about him later on. But the point of it is that I have, but the only thing is that I signed to record companies who own my music at this, and
Hmm.
so that's from 1995, not including the incognito stuff. That's tons of stuff I don't have any rights to. But the from 1995, my first album Maysa, that came
Hmm.
out then, until this last album I did with Shawnee Entertainment was Love Is a Battlefield. So for
Hmm.
instance, those not owning all those records, that's 30 years of albums. And just to understand it, had I owned all that from the beginning, I wouldn't have to worry about a dime, or worry about any bills, and worry about anything, because I would have all of that income from those things. So in 2018, I decided that at 50, I think I just turned 50 some years old. So I was like, it's time for me to own myself. This is crazy. Like, why am I allowing other people to dictate how my career is going to flow? And that's what it was. I didn't want anybody to say, okay, well, we're not going to put money into this project, we're not going to put money into this song, knowing that last album, Love is a Battlefield, should have taken me to a whole new level career-wise. And because they didn't, and I figured, well, if they're not going to do it, they're not going to put the money in it, I might as well own it. And if I don't have the money to put in it, then at least I'll own it. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I made that decision. And it was probably one of the greatest decisions I made in my career, is to do this. And even as hard as it is, it's not easy at all. It's like financially, it's a kick in the tail.
We hear these stories all the time when it comes to ownership, especially in the music industry. We're Anita Baker's just getting the rights to her music. Ashanti, the way the contract was written, she's now can redo that music now. Can you
Wow.
speak on it just being across the board, and how is it that some artists, mainly non-black artists, have not had that struggle as much as the ones that look like us? And why is the independent route so more intriguing because of that now to artists?
Well, some, the other artists that don't look like us, a lot of them are going through it also. A lot of them are going through it, but for the most part, they may have gotten bigger advances, or they may have some other different kind of deals than what we got. And Prince was so right about the slave thing. I mean, it's so amazing how he was just, he saw that, and he understood that very early. And so when I used to listen to him say that stuff, and I was like, what is he talking about? Like, what is he saying? But now I totally, totally understand. The ownership thing is so important because, for instance, if one of my songs, like, who would have thought that Chuck Brown's "Bustin' Loose" would have become a Chips Ahoy commercial?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Years and years and years later. So if the record, like all of my music I've put out now before this 14th solo album, and everything I put on my record label, everything before that, the owners of that music can do absolutely whatever they want to for it with it, and I only get a percentage of it, of what if I get that, they can actually do what they want with the music. And so now as owner, I get to do whatever I want with my music. And I'm at the point in my career where there's like for the first album, I could remake that whole first album, which would be difficult because I just love the way it was now. But if I had the money to remake that whole album, would be ideal. Then I will control those masters.
Okay.
And I can re-release everything. But I'm also in the timeline of almost when they have to give it back to you. I think it's in my contract. I gotta read my contract again. But that first album, I should be in that 33-year, 35-year window.
So that's one of the things I wanted to ask, because Ashanti was trying to explain that, and it was unclear. So she, in her contract now, she's able to, for her first album, re-record it.
Right.
Does that erase the first one, or do they not get any
It's just
money?
it's just like this is a different set of masters. So
Okay.
she'll own all it. So she's able to see they put a hold on when you can re-record it because they know that you can own it. They don't want you to own it, so they make it hard for you to re-record anything. So that's part that was a lot of in a lot of people's contracts back in the day. It's like, So yeah, so I think sometimes after 7 years you can but she must have had a longer contract time. Yeah.
So in terms of you now being free,
Yeah.
free and doing it for yourself, how does that feel? Being able to
It's
create on
amazing.
your own terms and reap your benefits.
It's just amazing. It's scary. I'm gonna be honest with you, because now I'm totally responsible for the success of my music, and I'm totally responsible for raising the money to play the game, basically. And so to play the game, it's a lot of money. It's like I have to mortgage my house to do it.
Oh wow!
And I'm not quite there yet. I don't think I'll ever do that. But just I still the way I'm funding my record is that every time I do a show, I do a song. When
Okay.
I do something else, I do a song. If I sell enough merchandise, I do a song. So it's like I keep reinvesting in my business over
Okay.
and over and over again until I get to the point where it's going to pay off. And I think that's this year in the next coming years.
That explains why we're not, from certain artists, we're not seeing a full out production yet as they used to do. But that's
Hmm.
still smart because you're able to build on that
Hmm.
capital that you're creating from touring
Right.
and that. So I also want to
But
give you
can I
your.
say this?
Go ahead. Go
But I
ahead.
also noticed, like when we're on the road, because I'm Mace's road manager, so I'm there and I see a lot of
Hmm.
things. But I noticed, like when we were in Houston, people were really anxious of buying this
Mhm.
product right here because they knew you own it. You
Hmm.
know,
Mm.
instead of saying, okay, this is going to be a situation where the money comes in and percentage goes
Yeah.
to the record company and here,
Hmm.
and then
Then I have to
Mesa
wait for
don't
100
get it.
years for my
But they,
royalties. Like, yeah.
I mean, there were people in the line who said to me, "Oh, I don't have change, but tell her just keep it. Just keep
Yeah.
that too,
Yeah.
because we want her to, we want her to make this record company work." And
Hmm.
and and so and so, it's almost like when you turn it over to the people as well, they see how you're building. Then, it's a situation where
Hmm.
you really reap the benefits of that.
And that's, a lot of rock acts, a lot of acts that have been independent from a long time. They build they use social media or just word of mouth, and they built such huge followings
Mhm.
that these people are like totally invested in them, and they will put all their money into them. They will doing as much as they can, and they usually get huge amounts. That they would never need a record company. You know what I'm saying? So, hopefully, and I'm building that. I think that if I needed to, I could do like a Indiegogo where I ask for a little bit of help with some kind of
Mhm.
parts of the company that I can't fully fund right now.
Right.
I haven't done it yet out of pride and like out of scare that I might make $5 and have to get the money back or something. But other than that,
You know, you're gonna make more than that.
but yeah. So one day, it's gonna be okay. But right now, I'm enjoying making all the decisions. It's a lot of work. I literally do everything. I run my whole company, like everything, like from touring to merchandise. Like I pack and send out everything myself.
Mhm.
Um, and then the going to travel, doing the records, picking out the songs, writing songs, going to the studio, flying here and there. All that's under my expenses, so I have to do it all by myself, and that's cool. I appreciate it. I'm grateful for it, and I thank God for this chance in my life to make this
Right.
happen.
But you've learned how to pivot and you've been doing it. And actually, because of the pandemic, many artists had to go to performing live on social media sites. But you
Mhm.
have been doing that way before the
Yeah,
pandemic happened. So,
yeah.
how easy was it for you to pivot into this,
Oh.
pivot in this pandemic than it was for many of your, your fellow
I think
employees?
I know it's amazing. We started Macy's Kitchen Karaoke in 2016, just for
Hmm.
me thanking everybody for coming on to my website or thanking everybody for my career. Just a thank you that my friend Walter Beasley, he encouraged me to do. So it started
Hmm.
from that. We built this huge family. So when the pandemic came, and we were out of work, we just kept going. And I've never asked for those 4 years we started. I never asked for anything. I never wanted anything from anybody. I just doing
Hmm.
it out of love. And then when the pandemic hit, Troy and several of my other, friends and they just like told me, look, you're gonna have to like because everybody else is getting money. They're getting
Hmm.
donations. So it's nothing wrong with you asking for a donation or allowing people to bless you.
And you're
And
not just playing music, you're performing. Like if
yeah.
people, if you don't notice the backdrop, this is the backdrop to her
Mhm.
sessions, and I call it a mini concert. Whenever I see the notification come up, it's
Uh,
concert time. But I
that's good.
I appreciate you being innovative that way because many artists they were finding it hard to sit in front of that camera because for so long
Mhm.
they were told that they had to keep that distance. But now engagement is your
Mhm.
career. Like that has
Mhm.
now become a part of the process.
Mhm.
How have you? What was the process of learning that side of it?
Wow. I don't know. It's just being brave and just going for it, and kind of taking leaps, like Troy said earlier.
Hmm.
Um, I think most of all, just I don't know. Like it came out when I first started. It was real rough. I mean, I erased the first few. They were so terrible. I was like, my God. So I think just being more confident, people showing you love, and you accepting the love people showing you. They know that sometimes I have to fight with my computer, or somebody walks in the background and they're like, "Who is that in the refrigerator?" and all this kind of stuff. So it became natural, and I let it be natural, and that's
Mhm.
what karaoke is for me. And I think, and the people who called me during the pandemic and said, "Well, how do you do this and how do you do that?" I was like, "Child, just be yourself."
Mhm.
There's some people who make big productions. They do a whole lot. That's my cousin Lori. Oh, that's so cool. My cousin Lori just started her own business, Lori Lee. She sure did. Now she worked
Hmm.
for the state for many, many, many years, and now she owns her own lovely adult loving business.
Self care. We call that
Adult.
self
I know how
care.
to say
Self
it. Adults things, things, things. So
Yay, Lori.
okay.
Mhm.
So it's a process where I think it's mostly just being real, just being who you are, and letting people, just loving on people. And I
care.
just want to sing to people who can't come see me, and people who want to hear more songs that I can do in the show. And that's what it's all about.
Watching Troy create yet another production that's going to be long living for the next 20 years or so,
Hmm.
and probably beyond that. How
Hmm.
has it been watching him create these message pieces that speak to our everyday existence as artists, as community members, so on and so forth?
Well, I've watched my brother Troy be a mentor for wow, 30 something years. I mean, we've been friends 38 years, and then he's just doing as much. I mean, he does so much. He's fathered, and mentored and uncled and everything, everybody in Baltimore, and so to watch his creative process this time is different. I'm gonna say it honestly. We both have been in this mode where we're kind of like uh what do you call what I call it, Troy? It's like working, like we're working in silence, like kind of thing. We
Hmm.
Hmm.
had our head down. He shoots me a couple things here and there. I can see, like, okay, I see where you're going there, I see where you're going there, and I like that he's incorporating the community activism, like, and doing these the community talks and everything. Um uh Pretty much whatever Troy does is it's a driven, he's focused, he doesn't waver. He doesn't say, "Oh, I'll do it later. I'll give up." He's on it, on it, on it, and he's very inspiring that way. And that's kind of kept me on my stuff because I watch him, and we don't, we used to go out all the time and waste money and buy stuff, have shoppers and all that stuff. And we kind of more focused now on what we're doing. And so I see in this process, because he owns his own ass, especially, um, he's really focused on what he's doing, and he's gonna build this. His love for the community is bar none. He's
Mm.
gonna make sure the community is loved and loved on, especially Black men. They're gonna know that they have support out here, and that we can do this, and Black women too. And Black people in general. He just does it, and he knows we're gonna make this. It's gonna be a big one.
Mm. There we go. Him and
Mhm.
his t-shirts. That's his next
Black
business. We starting a
joy,
t-shirt company.
okay, Black joy.
But I really do. And Troy said something at a meeting we had a couple weeks ago, and he spoke about just having this energy that he just keeps moving. And I see the both of you reinventing yourselves,
Mhm.
constantly reinventing yourselves, and constantly, defying what is expected of an artist of a certain age or a certain demographic or a certain
Mhm.
color, just keeping that ball moving. I
Mhm.
remember, I go back to when I first saw you. I just told Troy I first saw you on a commercial, and he said, I think he said it was the March of Dimes commercial
Oh, wow.
years ago, and that was the first
Mhm.
time I saw you because I had just saw you and you were selling your CDs. And
Mhm.
my mom like bought one. I think it was the one. It was you had on red in that
Yeah,
CD.
yeah, that's the first
And
album.
I
Mhm.
remember meeting you, and you gave me advice. You didn't have to. It was a line behind us, and you took
Mm.
time. And even up until the day, I see how you still are approachable. You're not shying off. You come
Yeah.
out to everything that Troy does. I see you come out to it, but
Mhm.
I haven't seen you like change
Oh,
or
thank you.
change for the worse. Some
Right.
people don't come back to Baltimore. Some people go way out, way out,
Right.
and come back into the city. But
Right.
I love the fact that the two of you have committed to just evolving and
Mhm.
forever, just developing that skill set and sharpening
Mhm.
that tool.
We'll always rep Baltimore. That's we love
Right.
Baltimore. We wanted to get better. We've got to stop this crime. We got to figure out what's going on with our people and why we're
Mm,
hurting each other so much. And this is part of
Mhm.
what he's doing. He's trying to help us heal and
yeah.
try to get this so we can figure this out. Because
Right.
Baltimore is going to be. I just feel one day Baltimore's going to be a booming place, like you said, like Atlanta and all these different cities, a
Hmm.
place to be for arts and entertainment
You
and
can feel it.
music. And yeah, definitely it's coming. And
Mhm.
like I said, so many artists from Baltimore that are so talented, and a lot of them are getting out here. A lot of choice students are getting out here doing Broadway and movies and
Mhm.
television. And so I think it's coming. And so I hope I'm glad to be a part of it. I hope that Blue Velvet Soul Records will have its own office building someday, and they'll be big enough to sign the most humble and sweetest people. And
Mhm.
like I said, as soon as I make a profit, a small profit, don't have to be a big profit, but enough to keep running.
Mhm.
They're gonna own their own masters immediately. It's not gonna be no 5-year wait, 17, 35 years, all that craziness. They're
Mhm.
gonna own their stuff and they're gonna go out and do what they want to do.
And Troy, I want you to real quick. We're going to introduce Easy next because he's one of those youngins under you all that have learned and grown and been groomed by your inspiration. So, real quick, Troy, if you can introduce him, and we'll bring you in. But also to Troy and to Maysa, if you feel a question, jump in there. Jump in
Okay,
there.
Okay.
well, thank y'all.
Well, what can I say about Easy Jackson? I mean, he's authentic Baltimore, and
Hmm.
um, and I met him actually when I was at Arena Players Youth Theater, and I think we were doing a Black History show, and that was when the whole idea of doing a real nigga show. I met him through a mutual friend, Robert Lee Hardy, and
Hmm.
and the two of them said we want to do something. We want to do something for the stage. They didn't know what, but they wanted to do something, and we made something happen, and we made that show happen. And next year, 20 years later, and I just watched Easy how he evolved in his own thing, and building his own company, and having vision, and then and jumping out there and say, okay, I'm not scared to jump. So that's the thing. And I mean, and his pen is amazing. His pen is amazing. I mean,
Oh
on
yeah.
all the different things that he's done over the years, and and he's a great guy. People like Easy Jackson. Like,
Hmm.
they say we want Easy. So you know,
So he's checking his sound real quick. So we're gonna make sure his sound because there was a little feedback. But
okay.
in terms of Easy's contribution to your art world, your art projects, just the Baltimore scene, how has that? How have you seen him grow over like the last 20 some years?
Well, I mean, like I said, just said his pen has always been crazy because when he brought some of his writings, I was like, wow, wow, how old is this guy? And
Mhm.
but just to watch him navigate and always create stuff. And also when I saw Easy go into being an activist, okay, he's known Baltimore, he's a rapper, MC, and he make that thing happen. But when I saw him do this activist work, I was like, wow, see, you know, that's that thing of not being scared to jump and build on to the next thing. So I mean, and that was amazing. And then to see him just to come back hitting hard with his own career in music. So
So we will just try it from this point.
hey, Easy.
Easy.
What's up, y'all? I'm hitting this echo cancellation on here. I hope this works.
Yeah,
That's better.
Okay.
All
that's
right,
what.
Sean. Thank you. I gotta get off here. Thank you so much for having me. And I'll see you.
Hi, Maysa. Bye, Maysa.
Bye bye. See you. Hey, Easy.
Hey,
Thank
hey,
you.
let me say this publicly. Mesa and Easy, when y'all gonna record together?
Okay, soon.
Hey, I'm ready.
All
I'm
right.
ready.
I
I'm
put
ready
it out there.
last
The
year.
challenge is there publicly.
Okay, there you go. There
They
you
own
go.
they own their own asses and music companies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Let's go. I'm
absolutely.
with
We're
it.
gonna make that happen.
I'm with it.
All right, babe. See you.
Thank you so much, Maysa.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we got Easy on. How
What's
you
up,
doing,
y'all?
sir?
Pretty good. I'm doing all right.
How has it been moving throughout this pandemic for you as an artist?
It's been crazy, man. Last year, the last 2 years were rough, but we started Epic Fam pretty much during the pandemic. So at the same time, while we met a bunch of challenges, it was like, working on this really helped me get through it. You know what I'm saying? This was this is one of those things where you sink or swim.
Hmm. Being a part of this project now, how do you feel about where it's going? We can't tell nothing because sure you're gonna fire all of us if you tell anything.
Yeah.
But how does it feel being a part of this project?
I mean, I'm excited. I love working with Troy. When we worked on the Real Nigga show, and then through the years we've had some one-off things, events and productions that I've had a chance to work with him on. So whenever Troy called me, I'm ready. You know what I mean? I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited because I know it's going to be something thought provoking. I know it's going to be something that is going to be different, than what everybody else is doing. So it's always a no brainer for me if when Troy calls.
So, and where you are in your career now, owning your own music label, what has been the journey to doing that?
The biggest thing for me has been like learning the industry, you know what I mean? And learning the business of the industry. Before this, I've never been signed to a label. I've never been, I've always owned all my own music, but I
Hmm.
never had it officially under a label. I kind of did it very underground, real what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of uh grassroots, you know what I mean? Just
Hmm.
kind of like owning my just I've always owned my own music in that regard, that I controlled, all sales and all of that stuff, just through all of the little indie sites that you have, that and ways
Hmm.
we're able to do stuff, and I came in on that tail end of when you could sell CDs, you know what I'm saying, and do shows. So I did my years of touring and all of that. This transition into running a record label has been a lot because the industry is changing at a rapid pace. But at the same time, it puts me in a different category to be able to say, this music is owned by Epic Fam. You know what I mean? And that
Hmm.
Epic Fam, we as an entity can do a lot more than what I could do just as a solo artist. So
Hmm. It makes it makes a difference. But listening to Mesa talk before, the process that many artists have gone through, where they're having to buy back their own music or
yeah.
fight for their own music. Um, have you ever been tempted? Because that machine money makes things happen faster. So have you ever been tempted?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I can't say that I ever had a real opportunity though. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Hmm.
always it's always been an option, but um I've never really had like a label come and say we're interested in you. I've had some
Hmm.
A&R meetings before. Um and then I just didn't like that world and that energy, so I never pursued it. I always wanted to own my shit. You know what I mean? And I
Okay.
feel like if it takes me a long time to do that, then it just takes a little longer because rap and making music was never something that I was ever going to do temporarily. This is something I always knew that I'd be doing for the rest of my life. So I was never in a rush to get signed.
Mm. But now owning your own ass with your company, you're now making that space for other artists. And
Yeah.
how has it been now, managing or supporting other artists the way you are supporting yourself?
It's challenging, you know what I'm saying? Because like I said, the business is changing, and dealing with artists, man, artists, they want what they want, you know what I mean? And some artists, I can't give it to them fast enough,
Mm,
and so what I've told the artists at Epic Fam is, you right here at the ground level with me, but don't wait on me. You know what I mean? If you have other stuff, you got other opportunities, go for them. What's up, Nikki? Um, if you got other opportunities, go for them. But if you stick with me, I got you. So there's that. But then also, it's really rewarding and it's fun, for me getting to work with younger artists. It was something that I always wanted. I always knew that when I was 16, I said by the time I'm 40, I'm on my own record label. And I want to be working with younger artists and supporting younger artists and taking the things that I learned as a performer and a recording artist and teaching those kind of fundamental things to those artists. So it's been a lot of fun, like getting in the studio with them and, kind of us learning from each other and collaborating. It's been real rewarding.
and I'm gonna add the subtopic of mentorship into this one as well. How Troy being a mentor to you, how important was that for you? Because many people don't realize Troy is heavy into the music side of the artist world just as much as the theater side. So how was it having a mentor who has traveled the world with musicians like Maysa and such? And how was it having that level of mentorship to go
Well,
along
it
with
was it
the journey?
was huge. It was huge. It's funny. I remember, like, I can recall Mesa was talking earlier about, some of her struggles with labels and,
Mm-hmm.
people owning her music. And I can recall her and Troy, like, telling me these things,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of one of the things that always had me like, well, I'm not really pressed to sign a record deal unless it makes sense. You know what I mean? Unless
Mm-hmm.
it's like, unless I have some ownership or some
Like a
control.
partnership.
Yeah. And so watching Troy over the years as a businessman, as a mentor, and constantly a creative, right? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like never letting, like, over the years you meet a lot of people who, they're in the music business, but they're really just there for the business. You know what I mean? They don't
Yeah.
really like the music. They don't really care about the music. And so Troy kind of always inspired me to just, own and run my shit as much as possible. Even, I remember dropping an album and we did a run of a real nigga show once, and he, let me sell my CDs in the lobby, and that was a big boost in my confidence because that particular album, I didn't know if people were going to like it or not, but I was trying to, he saw me trying to get my stuff out there and gave me that opportunity. So, in that vein, I'm always going to give back to the next generation what was given to me.
Mm, it's amazing. I've been able to watch you grow as a performer, not just in music but as an actor as well over these almost 20 years, and watching you do something that I didn't think. I just thought it was just something you wanted to try. I didn't know how serious you were about it, but I watched, and me being a part of this last production of it, I've understood all of you all's connection to the words, the little words that you were using. Not only that
Yeah,
you wrote many of them, but the fact that you were living this experience.
yeah.
Learning that as you grew, your characters grew as well in the previous production. How instrumental was that side of art to what you're now doing in terms of running a production company and being a musician?
I mean, I studied theater in high school,
Hmm.
and so, and I did middle school as well, Baltimore School for the Arts, Twigs, and went there for high school. And theater always been something that I loved and was interested in. It really for me helps with music because theater is a world that doesn't have any limits. You know what I'm saying? You really can. create the environment that you want to be shown to your audience. And and with music, especially hip hop, a lot of times we don't often push boundaries and take things to a level that is more than just surface or kind of cliche. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
We can
mhm,
And theater gives me that outlet and that ability to tap that part of my mind that's limitless. you know
mm,
um, and so being able to watch Troy and Robert Chew and them at Arena Players, because at that time I just used to come to Arena Players with friends, with Robert and them. I wasn't in youth theater, but I would oftentimes get to watch their rehearsals and um watch how they ran things, and how the people trusted them. You know what I'm saying? Those kids that I was coming there with, DeSadra and Robert and all them, like they trusted Troy and they trusted Robert Chew. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
And I always saw myself in that way, in that when my artists get in the studio with me, they trust me because they know I'm not trying to put out no trash. You know what I mean? They know that, if I give you feedback, that means that I'm just trying to make it better, and they trust that it's going to be better. So, if Troy would tell me, let's do that again, we're going to do it again. You know what I'm saying? And that's, so I keep that same spirit with what we do at Epic Fam.
it's the city that we live in is not easy to live here, but I think we get a bigger bad reputation than what we actually are.
Hmm.
How have you been a voice of this community, whether it be on the political side, managing uh, representatives and delegates and such, and then you go to the music side? How has it been trying to change that or improve that narrative that many people give us that's never even been here before?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my thing a long time ago. You know, it's become a cliche term, but when Gandhi says "be the change," you know what I'm saying? Like that really struck a chord with me a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we can sit back and talk about how bad things are, but if you're not actually representing, how better things can be or how good things can be, then we're just going to keep giving energy to that narrative. I'm somebody that I think that statistically I was not supposed to make it to this age. And so I'm going to act like it. I'm going to act like I appreciate life. I'm going to act like I appreciate my community. I appreciate my brothers and sisters. I'm going to act like being here is a privilege,
Mm,
and through that, I just try to be the change, not and I'm not going to say I always hit the mark, you know what I mean, but even being able to say, okay, well, I was wrong there, or I made that mistake, that's being the change, you know what I mean. That's stepping into that mold of, okay, well, if we need to change the narrative, then who's going to change it? It's got to be us
mm,
that are here.
mm. And I value you for not making the Atlanta trip or over to LA or New York and making your base here, even though you still travel out to all those places and tour. I value you for staying and planting your feet here, at least for this moment, and not just jumping ship, because we need representation on every level of success. So we can bring that energy here and we can kind of groom it from within. Um,
Certainly.
how have you begun to mentor the young people that's coming up under you?
Just most of the time when they show up to the studio, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying. And then another thing that I really enjoy doing now at this point in my career, I get hit up for stuff that I either can't do, or they don't want me to do it alone. So they'd be like, you got a few other artists that you can bring. So I'm always paying attention to what artists are doing things, and a lot of times I try to give those artists opportunities that that come my way. Just last week, I had I got booked for a private virtual performance, and they wanted two other artists, and I grabbed one artist that's Epic Fam, and I grabbed one who wasn't, because I've been digging what she's been doing. You know what I mean? And I wanted her to get paid for what she's doing. You know what I mean? So for me, it's a couple of those things. It's like those that show up to the studio, we're gonna make good music. I'm gonna, probably bring something else out of you that you may have not have tapped in. And then for others, I try to put money in their pocket. You know what I'm saying? Troy was one of those first people to let me know that what I did was of value. It's like, yeah, I like you, we're cool, and this is great and everything, but you know, here you get paid to do this. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things that I really, really have been taking a big swing at, is making sure that these younger artists get paid for what they do.
I'm gonna take a moment. I'm gonna bring in our next artist with you, Easy. I'm gonna introduce her, Troy, if don't mind. I first met this young lady after going through a devastation, uh, Katrina, and I don't connect her to Katrina uh, or that storm, but I watched her grow from this little 17, 18-year-old young lady to this business owner. Alisa Brock is from New Orleans, and she's been here for quite some time, just showing off and showing out. And every time she creates something else, it doesn't amaze me or shock me, but it just takes my breath away. That all that talent is in that little tiny little body of hers. And I remember her first coming to Coppin, and me feeling, as the president of our Coppin Player organization, I felt the need to welcome her, Brock, Elise. I mean, I'm saying both my names. Riga, Katriquia, Carl. I felt the need to welcome them in. None of us have ever lost something on that level before. And I've watched her, despite all of that, just grow. So I want to bring Brock in. She is a playwright. She is an actress. She is now the owner of Drama Mama Bookstore and Publishing Company. She's making books out here, y'all. You normally can see her at the farmers market and various other entities around the city. So without further ado, I'm just going to bring Ipsum Aim Aim.
No, you didn't.
Ipsum Aim Aim onto the
Hey,
screen.
y'all.
Hey, Brock.
Thank you, Nate. That's so sweet. That really touched me. I gotta be real. That was like Imsum same. That brought me back, Nate. That was a line. That was like the only line I got for like my first
player
play.
copy.
And I was so excited about my Imsum Aim James. That's all I said.
But so we're doing this show in conjunction with Troy's project. You thought I was him, and Troy decided to topic this particular episode, owning your own ass. And I've watched you hustle for other people's dreams, whether it's Eaton's Lounge or somebody's lounge or doing hair or doing nails. But the moment you begin to tap into doing hair at your own house, or whether it be you started making stuff, you were doing the crochet. I've watched you kind of grow in that and pull more and more away from making somebody else's dream a reality. How has it been for you in that journey of becoming your own entrepreneur?
Nate, this is the first time somebody interviewed me that know me like that. Nate done brought out the hair. He done the crocheting, the butter company. Child, I was doing it. I was trying to.
Oh yes, the shea butter, the oil.
Yeah,
all that.
that's dope. Okay, so I think I was always trying to find an outlet that I felt I could stick to. I knew I wanted to be doing something that was creative, and that something that was my own, and that I could grow myself. So it was just about like really listening to myself, and once I found something that really worked for me, like proving to myself that I could stick to it long enough to see progress.
Yeah. And I always forgot that you were young and you were finding your way, because it's many times people look at us as artists, and I'm sure Easy you've gotten it, and we may be in that phase of just figuring it out, and they just wondering why it's not, but they forget our youthfulness is just exploring this possibility. They're scared to say without a shadow of doubt, this is what I'm going to do. And sometimes we've made very expensive bad choices, and sometimes it was just a learning lesson that needed to be learned. For you, Brock, building that and now finding a focus, You finally named it something. Drama Mama Bookstore. You first were selling books. Now you started making and designing books. Now you're publishing books as well. How has that become a journey, or what was that journey like for you?
Yeah, actually, I had two businesses at the same time. I thought I was getting real solid ground. So it was a work in progress theater company because I
Mhm.
love my theater. And that's
Yeah.
when I did my one woman show. And Troy was like, she ready. What you want to do? Which space you want? You could take this space. We was at
Mhm.
UB. And I also had Drama Mama Bookshop was just an idea and
Mhm.
a name. And I started out selling
Plays.
plays, scripts,
Mhm.
and theater memorabilia. But
Mhm.
it was like it was doing okay, but it wasn't like a thing or anything.
Mhm.
Um, and so I put a work in progress on pause, and I did that because I need to eat.
Mhm.
Um, and I saw the potential for Drama Mama to actually earn me an income,
Mhm.
more swiftly than a work in progress could. Um, uh, I moved into Drama Mama Bookshop, turning into a stationery manufacturing company after I lost my friend. And you guys have been talking about mentors tonight. And Lydia Armstead, which she ran Tiny Tailors across the street.
Park
Mhm.
Avenue.
Oh man,
Yeah,
yes.
Yes.
she changed my life. I think you lived above from her for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. I
She was
remember
a
Miss Lydia.
powerhouse.
Mhm.
If
Yes.
folks know her, you
Hmm.
better
She
watch
was
out. She ain't
security
about
for
no
Reed
games.
Street.
Yeah, she
Yes.
ain't about no game. She wasn't about no game. So
Mhm.
she told me off. I went into her studio, the Tiny Tailor shop, and was she was real quick with me. But I think she kind of I guess she understood that I didn't come with any to mean any harm, and she had
Mhm.
stitched this like dress for me or whatever, and really guided me in terms of knowing my value and my worth. And then when she passed away, I actually went to check on her because I would sit with her for hours at the end of my work shift at Keeper's Vintage across the street. And we would talk, and she'd tell me how it is. And
Mhm.
I listened because I wasn't going to get a word in edgewise with her. And it was worth it, though. I obtained a lot of knowledge from her. And I ended up going, to check on her, and it turned out she had passed away in her apartment. So I had did a wellness check. Anywho, I thought I was gonna just bind one book, so I bought all this material just for myself. I wasn't even thinking about it being an addition to Drama Mama, but in my grief, I kind of stayed home and stitched like a bunch of books, and
Mhm.
one turned into 20, and then it just kept going and going. And then I sold them, and I was like, "Oh, this Drama Mama right here." And honestly, if I wasn't willing to shift, if I was if I had been so dogmatic about my passion for theater, right? If
Mhm.
I would have just said this is it and this is the only way Drama Mama is gonna exist, I wouldn't be able to come back around to theater or writing or get to like publishing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
But I remember you saying going through Katrina helped you not to be so attached to and so stubborn with this one thing. It helped you to kind of. That was one of our early conversations. It allowed you to try stuff that you wouldn't normally want to try or
Yeah.
feel the need to. And all that probably happened for you, so you could learn to pivot as you needed to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bartender today. I'm doing nails.
I
I'm
was
prepping
doing
a shea
everything,
butter
child.
tomorrow.
That
But
girl was doing
and watching you grow in that way and just try everything. When I saw you with that big shea butter nut, I just knew like it's she gonna make it no matter how it is. She gonna make it.
Oh my
but
god.
but I appreciate that and having the two of you on. And I guess both of you can answer this. What has been the hardest thing about the pivot process? Because sometimes it's still hard, even if you naturally do it. The pivot is hard to change or grow or just change direction. And I guess that's for both of you.
Oh man, I think the hardest thing for me was the sacrifice of going from, because having a day job
You call
is,
that benefactor. That's a benefactor.
yeah, it's a and the better the day job is, the more demanding it is, right? So you have to say, all right, well, if I'm going to do this, it's, I'm going to have to deal with less over here, but then there's going to be more over here. I definitely cut back on a lot of expenses, lived, took my thing to a minimal place from, actually being, kind of living above my means, because I had that security net of my day job. You know what I'm saying? So it's not fancy. You know what I mean? The pivot is not fancy. You might have to, if you
ramen noodle. I understand. We get
yeah,
it.
you know what I mean.
Yep.
If you enjoy sushi a few nights a week, you probably don't want to go, entrepreneur, independent. You know what I'm saying? You might get it a couple times a month. You know what I'm saying? But so I think that was one of the things for me, just like the life adjustment, because people don't expect that, they don't understand it, and you have to really make peace within yourself. Like, it's not about that.
Or you can always ask. Brock knows how to make it. I make sushi. So you just
Hold on, I did make sushi, but I didn't sell it though, yo.
We're not that one. But it's just learning how to, like you said, sacrifice is huge. It is huge, but it's the hardest thing, because you used to eating out and going to all the parties, and then you gotta fall back a little bit. So that pivot can be hard. Brock, go ahead, easy. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, because like Maysa said, you always got to put back into this thing. You know what I mean? So you gotta take what you make and put it back in.
I have a lot of passion for like passion will drive me into like, a wall, because I'm passionate. And I definitely went without. Like, I definitely had a very maybe a 12-hour a week job, and drama mama wasn't really bringing anything in at all. It was just an idea. I had stayed in a tiny room. I rented a tiny room. I slept on sofas, I did a lot of, I was very uncomfortable, but I didn't feel it. And I know it sounds crazy, but I really I could not feel it until I got out. Like, when I got out, then I was like, oh man, that was terrible. Like, why did I, at least I had a sofa, but I'm just saying, like, it was harder than I acknowledged it while I was in it.
Because you were still looking forward, probably.
Yeah, like
looking around, you were looking forward. Yeah,
it's not. I mean, it propelled me forward, but it's not necessarily a good thing. It's not something that I'm like, oh my God, I'm so proud of being that way.
Yeah, you didn't get comfortable.
Yeah, I like it because it's important to have balance. You know what I'm saying? And I had to learn balance later. That like that passion is good, but that passion needs to be maintained. And you need to be sensible, and you need to make sure you're taking care of yourself and honoring your body and your spirit, because all of those things matter. And passion is beautiful and all, but like be real with where you are, and care for yourself as you get there. And so I'm more so there now, and it took me a while to do that. It took me a while to get to a place where, like, oh no, I don't need to be doing all of this. Like, I need to take care of me and like still get the things I want done.
It's a journey in owning yourself, and you said it easy. It wasn't until I learned to sacrifice. I owned a home too early in life, and I established stuff as an adult too early. So I wasn't willing to have a bunch of roommates, or live in a room. Like, it was certain things that I wasn't ready to sacrifice. And until I was able to sacrifice those things, that's when I started seeing progress in what I wanted, or me being able to move in those spaces. Owning your own ass, what does that mean to you as a way of life, to both of you? And Carltaise, if you're listening, we're about to bring you on.
I think for me it means exactly what it says. You know what I mean? Owning my own ass, not having to. I mean, I think people see it as first like not having to answer to anybody, but I feel like there's more of like holding myself accountable is even more now. I can't blame anything on anybody except because all I have to show for what I'm doing is the work that I put into it.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a constant fight. It's uphill, but it's worth it.
Mm. Right.
Um, I guess for me, owning my own ass means learning the tools I need in order to propel forward. Like
Mm-hmm.
learning what I need to know, being responsible for the knowledge I take in, being intentional about the knowledge I take in so that I can grow beyond where I am. So if I
Mm-hmm.
have a vision for more, I need to study people who have gotten more. I need to study my practice. I need to get better at my practice. I need
Right.
to bring on people, be wise enough to bring on people who know more than me, know better than me. I need to hear the advice of others. I need to quiet back sometimes. Sometimes that means being silent. That's what it means to own my own ass to me.
So we're gonna bring on our last guest for the day, Mr. Carltaise Ransom.
I know
He's
I'm really
also
tiny right now.
he's an
Because this phone
actor,
is crazy.
and theater owner himself. Do you want to represent him, Troy?
Well, yeah, I'll tell a story. I met Carltaise years ago, and then I've seen him in arena players on stage. And then one day, Carltaise reached out to me, and he told me about something that he wanted to do, and it was his vision, and it was carefully executed in terms of how he wanted to do it. And but he made an impression on me about how he wanted to do this for his people. So with that, I just said, okay, let's look at the book and let's get a date. And next
Mm-hmm.
thing I know, Cortez came back in the door with a team, the whole plan laid out, ready to market the thing, and he just started moving stuff. And then I was like, wow. And then he came back to me and he shared with me a film. And I was like, wow. And the film was completed. And I was like, okay. It's because I've always had an open door policy with artists. If I'm running this venue space, you know, it ain't always about a dollar. Sometimes you just have to open the door creatively so that the artist can create. And as someone running a community space, it's my job to make sure that the doors stay open. So Cortez and I, we've had a chance to work together over the years like that, and I've always admired his tenacity in getting in there and saying, "Okay, we're gonna make this happen." And that's what really is about everybody that's on here tonight. But of course, my love is theater. So right there, he already had me when he said we're gonna do this play. He came in with some original pieces, and he came in with some known works. So and he always talked about paying his actors, making sure his actors are taken care of. So I said, okay, wait a minute, we got something going on here because he's really taking care of the people, thinking about them and wanting to empower the people. So I've always, admired that and say, hey, come on, if I got a space, you can have it. So I'm gonna shut up because I'm not supposed to be talking that much.
Well,
So
Troy is the co-host, so we all
Well,
talk. Uh,
I'm done. I said my piece in the
I'll call,
beginning.
I'll call my
Cortez ran.
facing your
Oh.
fears and maintaining the sacrifices. It can be the hardest parts of achieving success. I definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of uh, you, Carl says, watching you as a stage actor, and now you're producing more of your pieces. And first you started with your movie, and then you begin to really produce either works that were already published, or and now I see you starting to do more original work as well. What has this journey been for you in terms of transitioning from just an actor to a producer and a director of your own right, in your own right?
well, first I want to say thank you to Troy um, for opening his doors for me when I went to him with my vision, and the fact that I didn't have any money, but he still opened his doors for me to help me get this vision up off the ground. I'm someone who has always had a passion for the arts since childhood. I was singing on the school choir and all that, and like 5, 6 years old, and I started writing plays and songs when I was like 9 years old. So, and I started acting back then too. So it's always been a part of me. And originally when I thought about growing up and acting more and singing more, I just wanted to, you know, perform, and I just wanted to write regular stories.
Mm-hmm.
But as life began to happen to me more, like dealing with things like police brutality and stuff like that, and seeing how our people are mistreated, I became more intentional with what I was doing, what I was writing. Um, I feel like I don't have the luxury to just throw anything out there. I have to be very intentional with what I write, what I put out there, because my goal with the work that I do is to use my artistry to heal and empower us as a people, to bring us together, to get us to inspire us to love us. Because we as a people, we love everybody else. We show all the love and kindness and understanding to everybody else, but often we don't show that same compassion to one another as a people. And that's because of years of generational stuff, and dealing with self-hatred. My goal is to heal that self-hatred within our people and to get us to love ourselves and love one another. Love one another. So, um,
And why do you think we're having such a hard time unifying and staying consistent with that unifying?
um, I don't want to get into a lot of heavy stuff, but
Well, your
uh,
Carltaise, this was gonna happen anyway, so take your moment.
oh God. Well, um, uh, some of it has to do with what we grow up looking at, what the images that we see, as far as like looking at an image of a quote unquote white Jesus or Caucasian Jesus,
Hmm.
that makes an impression on a lot of people. I know a lot of black people that I've talked to who said how that affected them growing up, looking at an image of a white man as their savior, and how it affected them negatively as far as them being black and how they look at themselves in the mirror as opposed to having this white savior. So for a
Hmm.
lot of our people, um, the reason why we have such a hard time is because we're so busy trying to uh, gain acceptance. We
Hmm.
try to gain acceptance from them instead of us accepting ourselves and loving ourselves, um,
And
and
empowering each other.
Yeah.
empowering each other. So I've been accused of hating white folks. I don't hate anybody. It's not in my heart to hate anybody. It takes energy to hate people, and
Hmm.
I'm not using my energy to hate anyone. It's my all of my energy is taken by loving us. I do what I do from my heart because I love us. I could be out there writing all types of stereotypical stuff, showing us, putting out dysfunctions on Front Street without bringing a healing. Of course, we have to show the dysfunctional stuff to get to the healing.
Hmm.
But with a lot of people who do works nowadays, they just stay stuck on the dysfunction and never try to heal it. I
Hmm.
want to be thought provoking with what I put out there to bring that healing about, so that we can empower us. What one way I put it is, we can't just keep passing on the torch of oppression to our children.
Hmm.
We need to start passing on the torch of empowerment and healing. Um, we some of us have settled ourselves into this is just how it's going to be. And I don't like that attitude that this is just how it's going to be. Like that conversation that black parents say they have to have with their sons and their daughters now too. That when they get to a certain age, you have to tell them that be careful when you go out, and if you run across the police, you have to make sure that you don't talk too loud because you don't want them to think you're being aggressive and stuff like that. I don't like the fact that some of us have settled on thinking that that's how we have to live and how we have to tell our children that they have to live in a society where they have to be afraid of the ones that are supposed to be there to protect and serve. Um, and when I talk about things like we need our own judicial system, our own government and stuff like that, that's why I say stuff like that because I'm all about us protecting us surviving. Um, you know,
So the reality of that happening is a difficult thing to do.
yeah.
So while we're here in the with the procedures and branches of government we already have, how can your messaging help us to get back to where we were pre-segregation, or at a time where we felt we needed each other?
Well, like for instance, with my film, The Eternal Extra, the message in that film is to show us the power that we have within ourselves and to stop giving our power away. And I'm very intentional on showing healthy relationships between Black people,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be romantic relationships or friendships and so forth. Like with my new film, which I'm working to get edited right now, We Brothers. It's about a relationship between six Black men who have a close brotherhood and friendship, despite the fact that they come from different backgrounds. Where three of them are same gender loving, two of them are heterosexual, and one is bisexual. But they have a close brotherhood nonetheless. They don't let that other stuff get in the way of their brotherhood. And in this film, I'm very intentional about showing healthy brotherhood between Black men, and not letting sexual orientation or religious beliefs get in the way, and showing healthy, loving, romantic relationships between Black men and women, Black men and
Mm-hmm.
Black women, and also between two Black men. And this is my first time as an actor playing a role in one of my films that is a same gender loving character. As a writer myself, I didn't want that to be the first thing that I put out there because I'm not defined by my sexual orientation. Um, but I know that no matter what your sexual orientation is, we are all Black, and we have to represent ourselves, and we need to get past our differences. Like Malcolm X said in his Ballad of the Bullet speech, he said that he's a Muslim by belief, but when we come together to discuss our progress as a people, we need to leave religious stuff out of the room, because when we start talking about different religious beliefs and stuff like that, we start to argue and disagree, and we get caught up on the disagreement instead of looking at what's important.
The
You know what I mean?
solution.
Yeah,
Now,
the
now
solution.
I'm gonna jump in here for a minute. You've mentioned your film,
Yes.
and also, can you speak on a little bit on how you, as an independent producer, director, uh, owner of a theater company, but also now doing film, can speak a little bit on that? What is the process for you in making these things happen?
Well, it hasn't been easy. um, but you know, I believe in being a fighter because I'm someone who was told that I wouldn't be able to do this and do that because of something that happened to me in my childhood, as far as suffering a severe brain injury and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So doctors told me that I wouldn't be able to really accomplish anything. But of course, I didn't let that stop me. Um,
Hmm.
the process for me, it like I said, it hasn't been easy, but I've been blessed that I've had people who have believed in my vision, and I've reached out to people. I've reached out to people as far as like making donations to my film
That's what I wanted
project.
to ask you. Okay.
Yeah, people have made donations. Like with my first film, when I was trying to get that done, or the second version of that, because I redid my first film as well. Um, I tried the GoFundMe route, right?
Okay.
And like somebody mentioned earlier on here, where I think it was Maysa mentioned maybe getting on Indiegogo, and she was afraid that she would only get like $5, but I know she'll get way more than that. But but when I tried the GoFundMe route, I didn't really do too well. I got like maybe $99 on it. So when
And
I start, so when
do
I
you
started,
find
huh?
just do you find things like that, Indiegogo and those type of things? Are there? Is it a struggle in actually raising funds there?
Well, not for some people, but it has been for me. It is a struggle.
Because you got
Um,
the marketing strategy.
right. You got to
Yeah.
have the right marketing, and you have to have the right people who will help you push it as well, who help share it and get it to more
Okay.
people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and some people don't want to share stuff nowadays, so they will. It depends on who it is. They will share it.
And it's building, and right now engagement is very important, for
Hmm.
those reasons, for those types of GoFundMe's, Indiegogos. It's
Right.
really, you can't just ask people for money,
Right.
and expect for them to
Hmm.
deliver. You really have to put yourself out there and and be more engaging and show people what you're doing. You know, money is
Yeah.
tight now, so
Well,
people want to know that their money is going to something other than a Trump rally. You know, or
well, I
something.
wouldn't be doing that,
And
but
I'm just saying, you know, but being that transparent, you know, I think a lot of big artists have tried things like that, and it didn't work because they were behind that wall of celebrity.
Mhm.
So once they came out, people were willing to help them and support them. But we have to work on that engagement. And I've noticed you've been more out front on your social media more than you have
Well,
in the past.
like I told Troy, he was a guest on my podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I started that podcast during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my first episode was in September 2020.
Mm-hmm.
I did that to like push myself to become more outgoing because
Mm-hmm.
people assume that when you're an actor and all that and singing you on stage, they think that you're naturally outgoing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not. I'm normally quiet and laid back. Because I've had people who have seen me out and they're like, and when they find out I'm an actor, they're surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because years ago I was in a play and somebody who didn't know I was an actor, they came to Arena Players and they saw me in a play, but they didn't know I was in the play till they got there. And
Mm-hmm.
then they was like, I didn't know you had that in you because you always so quiet, you know. But my passion.
Right.
So I come to life when I'm doing that, you know. But normally when I'm not on stage, I'm like in the corner somewhere to myself. And
Mm-hmm.
starting that podcast helped me to become more engaging and talk to people more, because I had to interview people and so forth because it's not something that I'm, you know, used to talking
Mm-hmm.
so much.
Can we rewind a little bit before the pandemic? Let's talk about your theater company, but during that period, because
Okay.
because
First, say the name. Say.
I know it's a long name.
My God.
Now, you said, my God. Anyway, well, I was debating about putting my name on it or not, but I'm like, why not? Like Albert Ellis Dance Theater or whatever. But
you own your own ass.
Mm-hmm.
right, so
Put your name on it.
well, I was debating about it because I was at the time I was worried about what people were going to think, or do you think he's full of himself because he put his name on it, and that's
I
not mine.
am. I am.
You so, but I was so worried at the time about how people were going to look at me. Now I don't worry about that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the Carltaise Ransom, Royal Hues, Melanin Manor African Ensemble Theater. That's the
Let's
name
break
that
let's break that
break
down.
it down.
Tell us
Okay.
about that name. Tell us about the name.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we already know the Carltaise Ransom part, but
Mm-hmm.
Royal Hues, that's I see how our people still sometimes to this day battle about this dark skin versus light skin crap.
Complexion. Right.
Right, which really irritates me. So the Royal Hues is representative of the different shades of us, from the darkest to the lightest and all the shades in between.
Mm-hmm.
Melanin Manor it comes from the fact when you think of a manor, there's some place where people are welcome. At least that's what I think about.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Melanin Manor is about us all being welcome, no matter what our shade is, and no matter what part of the African diaspora we're from. Because I'm also about bringing us together as the African diaspora, not
Mm-hmm.
just Africans born in America, but in the Caribbean
The whole
or
diaspora.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
British, Afro-Cubans, all of that. Yeah, that's what I want to do, bring us together.
What portion of your company is educational? Because all that whole name screams doctorate,
Well,
and many
first
of
of all,
us come from an ignorant space of not knowing ourselves.
let me let me first. I would be remiss if I don't mention somebody who has been by my side this whole time, Miss Tamika Addison.
Tamika.
I have to
Mm-hmm.
give her a shout out
Mm.
because she's had my back this whole time. And when I first had this vision, I brought two people on board with me, and both of them said that they were down with me and everything. Well, Tamika is still there; the other person is not, but I love him regardless. Still love him.
And
We
Tamika
talk,
makes stuff happen.
and she makes stuff happen.
Mhm.
Yep.
Can I tell the story right quick?
Go ahead.
Sure.
When we went to Troy about doing the meeting on Malcolm X's birthday, because normally it's done to honor Martin Luther King and stuff like that. I said we need to do something to honor Malcolm because Malcolm is seen in a way that he shouldn't be. He's seen as being people called him violent. He was never violent. He never told anybody to go out here and harm anybody. He just talked about self-defense, how we should protect ourselves when we're being knocked upside the head. We have the right to fight back. So I wanted to honor him on his birthday, and so Troy was like, "Well, let's set up a meeting." Set up a meeting. Um, I was there early that day because I just come from around the corner, doing something with Dawn and Tyrone, for a one-man show as I played Langston Hues, and so I was there early, and I texted Tamika and the other person to see where they were. She said she was on her way. The other guy, uh, never heard back from him until like 2 minutes before the meeting. He said he wasn't going to be able to make it. Tamika came through the door, and she was using a walker. And I'm like, what in the world happened to you? She said she had a pinched nerve in her back. I said, well, why didn't you tell me that? I said, we could have rescheduled, or I could have handled the meeting on my own. And she
That's not
said,
her game.
we're on a mission.
Mm-hmm.
She said, we're on a mission. I'm about to get emotional. Anyway, uh, that means a lot to me.
Because she had your back. She
She
right
had my
there.
back.
Oh yeah.
And I take what I do seriously because I do love us. And whatever I do is from my heart. It's about love. Um, and I'm about putting us first as a people. And so we talked about the educational aspect. It hasn't been easy because we don't have our own space yet.
Mm-hmm.
But once we get into our own space, which it was about to come before this whole thing happened. And we were in a good space. We were getting to a really good space when this whole thing happened. And it shut everything down. But I'm believing that we're going to have that before this year is out. We're going to have our own space. So we had every intention on having an educational component to this, where we were going to teach our history that's not taught in schools, teaching not just about slavery, but teaching about where our people came from and the fact that we created civilization. Practically almost all the great inventions that make life, the quality of life, easy for everyone was invented by us. Including this thing that we're on right now. The internet, the cell phone, the original phone, even the original phone is quiet as it's kept. Alexander Graham Bell took credit for it, but it said that Lewis Latimer is actually the one who invented the original phone. And a black woman created GPS, and we were the first ones with indoor plumbing. We created all that stuff, and and so I wanted to teach that to our children. Like one time I was on a panel talking to children a few years ago, and I was talking about the things that we did and how we invented this and that and how we created civilization. And I told them about places like Black Wall Street and how we had our own towns and how successful those towns were. And if you could have saw the looks on those children's faces when they were told that, their eyes lit up. It was like, wow, we had our own. We did this and did that. It meant a lot to them to hear that. Yes.
And going back to the topic of today about owning, and this is something. This topic has nothing really to do with the stage production, but I wanted to highlight, African American artists who are now business people, operating their businesses with their craft, and saying, okay, there's something missing, and so you bringing it home with you're talking about all the people who invented so many things, so many Black people that so many people don't know. That's why we got to continue to talk about how we own, how we invent, how we create. Because sometimes we get mixed in with everything, and we get lost. The people who invented and people who are, actually the ones that you're looking to make things happen, it gets lost.
Right.
Yeah. So we got to remind ourselves. That's my thing.
And my take on these conversations are really we're setting the table for the production, and often sometimes the audience meets the play at the day of opening or one of the show days. So this backstory is the story of why we're going through so much. It may not be connected to the story, but it's definitely our backstories. and why we show up the day of the play as we are, as the
Right.
characters and the actors and the producers, and it really sets the table for it. So your career as now a theatrical production company, it really is setting the table for us to know our history and be mindful and aware of it. And this thing of we are sitting by allowing people to erase us.
Yes.
We are erasing us. Every
Mhm.
time I hear somebody say, I don't want to see another slave movie, but then I ask them something about it and they're dumbfounded by it, it is why we still need slave movies. It's why we still
Yeah.
need biopics. It's why we still need to revisit our history,
Hmm.
because not everybody is learning it. And as an
Right.
educator, our students are not getting it unless there are teachers that look like us in that room that has a love of history and a love of our communities. So it is
Right.
definitely necessary.
Just telling
Uh,
our own stories.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. And piggyback on back what you were saying earlier about being in Baltimore. I've been told by some people too, like for instance, Andrew Dove.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's one of the people who has been telling me for several years now, um, you're good. You need to get out of Baltimore. Uh, Go to New York or wherever. He's been telling me that. And I want to build something here in Baltimore because this is my hometown. I want to build something here for us.
Mhm.
Um, that's why, I haven't left because we do have the talent here. We have just as much talent
Mhm.
here as anywhere else.
Mhm.
Um, so we could create that right here. We just need to come together and make it happen. And that's what I want to see happen.
And I don't know who that gentleman is, but uh we need people here,
Hmm.
and us chasing fame and going other places, you're gonna run into the same problems.
Right.
There are too many people in New York. There's people in New York that feel like it ain't enough going on. There's people in Atlanta that feel that way, in LA, and they continuously move. Is you're chasing a goal that you can build from any address. We just
Hmm.
finished talking to Maysa, and now Easy is moving in that direction. The rest of us are Troy is in that direction.
Right.
You can be an international artist from any address in the world.
Mhm.
You go,
I totally agree.
do your little plays and build, but you better bring your ass back here that night.
Well, I
I
personally,
totally agree.
I never really thought about that. People told me years, you should be in New York. You could direct in New York. You could, you can get
Hmm.
into film. You go to LA, do this, do that. And I said, I'm a
Can you show
community
them your
type.
frequent flyer miles?
I well,
I've been
I
there.
usually
I've been
I
there
usually
already.
start by saying, yeah, I've been on every continent in this world except Antarctica,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm. And
and
I'm
and
planning for that.
and so right, no, I don't want to go there. But I like. I mean, I found my passion and what I love is in working in the community here.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
I don't need to expand that and build on that and and all that. I love what I do here. When I
Yes.
sit back and I watch, I just yesterday I shared a short film. A young man who was in the dance program at UB Blake Center, Teddy. I
Hmm.
can't think of Teddy's last name, but he went to Senegal and he made this wonderful film about dance. And so I shared it, and I said, and just sitting back watching young people how they move forward, and I remember him when he was a little boy, running around the UB Blake Center,
Hmm.
dancing and
Mm-hmm.
flipping and whatever. And but to see how the people around him inspired him to dream about doing other things. And then I
Right.
see this film, this short film that he produced, and directed, and he filmed it in Senegal. I'm like, wow, okay, see,
You
you
said you
never know
posted
who's
that?
what.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Yeah, I posted yesterday on Facebook.
I have to go back because I didn't see it. I'm gonna check it out.
It's it's a beautiful dance piece, and it's a short
Okay.
film. But just the mere fact that someone who was in a building of an organization where I was the director,
Yes.
they were learning
Mm-hmm.
from their teachers, and and we created that
Hmm.
space for them to do that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yes,
so
it's very
that's
important.
that's why I choose to stay here and do what I do here right in Baltimore. I mean, I
Yes.
could say this play could end up on Broadway. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
but
Okay.
at the same
Yeah.
time is I know where the roots of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
when we did the Real Nigga show, nobody you couldn't have told me that show would have lasted almost 20 years.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That was a summer project in 2003.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
powerful show. I've seen it like 2 or 3 times.
And we kept changing it and
Right. You
updating it
change
and
it every
all of that,
time. Yeah.
and so but it was brought to my attention. It was like, Troy, you need to tell more stories.
Mm.
And then I thought about it. I said, instead of updating the same piece, I do need to bring some new characters in, some new situations, and do some things.
Mm-hmm.
But me, I went and created a whole program. We got podcasts, we got community conversations. We're gonna
Mm.
have an art
Right.
exhibit. We're gonna do all of this, and it's like, but that's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's who I am, and that's what I contribute to Baltimore City. So,
So,
Me.
Carltaise, me and Troy have been discussing aspects of mentorship and the
Mm-hmm.
gap in it. And me
Yes.
being in my 30s now, I'm in that generation where it was a thing and then
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't a thing. Uh,
Right.
and now we're in a space where it's even harder for young people to even take advice because it's been so long since it's been a thing. And it's still, it never stopped. It just wasn't a part of programs. Remember, we used to have mentoring programs
Yeah.
and it would connect you purposely with individuals. How important has it been for you to be mentored, or have you been mentored, or do you have strong mentors with you?
I haven't really had any mentors like that.
Hmm.
I guess you could kind of maybe call Troy one because of how he's looked out for me and had my back over the past 20 years, decade and a half. But well, like showing my film and everything at UB Blake and stuff like that. But it's important for me to reach back and teach the children um, to love the skin that they're in and to love each other. Uh, I like I was talking about the panel that I spoke on earlier. That's a very important piece to me to mentor and to educate and to enlighten our children because they are our future, and I don't want them to have to keep singing or us to have to keep singing. We shall overcome. We've been singing that too long. We shall overcome. We need to overcome now.
Right, right. It's
Yeah.
important for us to not only give back, but to
Hmm.
make sure we're being filled at one time. And to all the artists out there, if you've never had somebody reach out to you to be a mentor, find somebody. It doesn't even have to be within your field. Find
Hmm.
somebody that's going to be a support system and not just writing you checks or
Right.
buying tickets to your events, but somebody that's going to give you honest advice, that's going to be objective and be able to look at what you're doing and give you honest criticism across the board. Um,
Yeah.
Reach out and find that person. Ask, open your mouth. You know, ask to be a part of somebody's program.
Hmm.
So you're learning and be honest about what it is. Most people are being leery because people are coming in acting as if they just want to help, but they're really taking trade secrets when they could have just
Right.
asked. And that person may have been more open to showing them versus just them being observant. Um, as we're coming to a close, for you, when you hear the term owning my own ass, what does that mean to you? Or what's the significance of that phrase to you?
To me, it means having well freedom. We don't have real freedom. What we're
Mm-hmm.
living under now is not real freedom, but owning your own ass, uh, to me, it means being having the freedom to be intentional with what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because often when you try to get a seat or trying to get a seat at their table, at that other table,
Mm-hmm.
it comes with stipulations. Um, like you better not ever speak out. You can't speak up for your people. If we ever say anything, um, they'll snatch the seat from under you, or put you outside somewhere, and put you on punishment until you behave. Uh, Owning your own ass, you don't have anybody standing over you telling you that you can't say this and you can't say that, and you can't speak up for your people. And that's why I'm very intentional with what I write. You know, people have said to me, one day you're going to win an Oscar. I don't really care about it anymore. If it happens, it happens. But my goal is to put work out there that will leave a positive mark on our people. Um, and that's what owning my own ass means to me, having the ability to create those works and get them done that will leave that impression on our people that we have the power to do whatever we want, you know.
Hey, thank you, Nikki. I
And
see you.
and 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 Troy, you know I've been dying to be directed by you, so I will be auditioning.
Oh, he got the plug in. I know that's right. That's why and I announced the auditions early, so
Yes,
people know where we're going with this.
you said June 11th and 25th, right?
Yep. But they'll be posts and things like
Mhm.
that because I'm gonna go really public about it, and even put up a character sheet so people know what the characters are and things
Okay.
like that. Like I said, this is a community theater piece for the
Hmm.
community.
Mhm.
Um, before we, Nate, I don't know what you have planned before we leave.
Mhm.
We are missing one of our guests this evening,
Yes.
and I do want to take a moment to say we are missing Tracie Jiggetts this evening because she is out
Okay.
being a fabulous Black mother and taking
Mhm.
care of her business and loving her son. So,
Mhm.
but I do want to talk briefly about her company, The Art of Truth, because it's when this was designed, it was important to have a group of people from different places and who
Mhm.
do different things. You see in the literary arts, you see in the theater arts and the music and things like that, and the administrative side with me, with the consultant. But
Mhm.
Tracie Jiggetts, she's the ultimate educator with the Art of Truth,
Mhm.
and it's a very
Yes.
holistic educational program, and also the performing arts, where she do photography, and I mean Tracie do it all. She's a choreographer, she's a drama teacher, she's a director. I mean, just all of the above. She is that woman,
Right.
all of the
Yes, she
above.
is.
She's
but
about to be
but
a rock star. She has a band now.
oh yeah, I've seen her with the, yeah, but she is the mother of truth.
Literally.
And I want to
Yes.
put that out. I want to put that out there just so that this today is complete with all the guests, even though
Mhm.
she physically couldn't be here with us, but her
Right.
spirit is right here on here with us. So I just wanted to put that out there.
So
Yes.
before you and I close out, Troy, I want to ask Carltaise real quick. Where can people find information on your company, and any upcoming events?
Well, I have a page on Instagram and Facebook, the Carltaise Ransom Royal Hughes Melanin Manor. On Instagram, it's probably easier because you don't have to remember so many words. It's on Instagram is Royal Hughes underscore Melanin Manor.
Okay.
Um, I, and if you want to email me, I have an email address, melaninmanor22@gmail.com. Right now, as far as any upcoming projects with the theater, we are working on trying to bring some stuff together now because it's been 2 years since I've done anything, exactly 2 years, because the last production we did was in February of 2020, just before everything shut down. And we were rehearsing for A Raisin in the Sun again, while when things got shut down in
Mm.
March of 2020. But we do plan to get back to that this year, A Raisin in the Sun, and I'm going to be working on another original project collaboration with a brother that will be a piece for Black men, um, as well. And I will take some of my directorial choices from what I used on for Black Boys for my original piece, because when I directed for Black Boys, I did some things that were totally different from what I saw originally, of course. And you know Jackie Terry, right? The great Jackie
Oh,
Terry.
Mama Jackie. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I told her about some of the things that I did with For Black Boys because she was familiar with it because she met the writer before, Keith Mason, and she had seen the original piece. And I was talking to her on the phone one night, about a month or so ago, and I told her about some of my directorial choices, with using the electric chair, um, and the fact that I used the electric chair and some of the guys in the show represented different um, men who have been killed, uh, or young black men that have been killed. Like one of the guys was representing Trayvon Martin. So my thought was that we're under execution no matter what we're doing in life. We're just minding our business. We're asleep, like what happened to Amir Locke recently. Sleeping in his, the police came in and shot that boy. So one person was representing Trayvon Martin, and he had a can of Arizona iced tea and the Skittles while he was sitting in the electric chair. And when it was time for him to get up and say one of his pieces, he got about the electric chair and he would go back and sit in the electric chair and eat his Skittles or whatever. I was like representing Botham Jean, the one who was shot by that woman, Ebba Geiger, when he was in his apartment eating ice cream. And so Kenneth Moore, who's the founder of the Baltimore International Black Film Festival, he's a very creative person. He made
Kenneth Moore.
Yeah, he made a bowl of ice cream, but the ice cream was made out of cotton candy, but it looked like ice cream the way he did it. And so it wouldn't be melting. So I was there in the electric chair because I was also in it. I was in the electric chair eating my ice cream and watching television, just doing everyday things. And at the end of the show, though, there's a transformation where we stand proudly in our blackness and we realize who we are and that we're not these numbers that they accuse of us being, just quote unquote thugs or whatever. So at the end of the show, we realize our royalness as black men, and the electric chairs are transformed into thrones.
Will that production be happening again anytime soon?
For Black Boys?
Yeah.
I thought about, I was thinking about doing that again, but I was also, thinking about doing my own original piece and bringing that into it. What I was just describing to you.
Yeah,
as well.
It's like
But
everybody's trying to, for theater people, we're trying to get back on our feet because actually we have been one of the ones that have been hit the hardest by the pandemic because the way we present our art. Dancers and theater people, because musicians have been able to. I mean, you can't play live, but the musicians been playing a lot live through social media and things like that. And I mean, we try to do live theater on. I mean, I did the nigga show with the live stream, but it's been rough for us. It's been like, okay, we've been shut down and shut all the way down.
Very rough. Very rough, but we're soldiers. We're gonna make it happen.
So I'm gonna share this, and this is something it kind of relates to the show that we're doing, and it kind of relates to the topic in terms when we had one of our community conversations, one of the writers for the show, Derek Watkins, said this, and this is a line that just stuck with me. He said, "We come from a people that have been a hurt people who are continuously learning." And when he said that, I said, okay, let me save that because that line is going into play. If you say something around me, Carltaise, you done said something around me today, then I'm gonna borrow a couple of them lines today and put them into play because when we talk like this openly, this is how we learn from each other. Sorry, Nate. I don't mean that. I'm sorry. I'm not going to hijack. I have a tendency to hijack the show. It's back to you, Nate.
No, you're fine. And this is what this platform is. We want to show you a side of theater that most people don't get to see. Sometimes they make behind the scenes or documentaries of a production, but we have some great works. And wouldn't it have been great to see the behind the scenes of a Dreamgirls or a Raisin in the Sun for the first time? So in Troy creating these projects, I wanted to help him show the side and connect with the audience. So it's not just the audience show up the day before and they're so stunned, but I want them to be in the mood for what is happening. So this is going to lead them up to production date, and then we have a art exhibit that will be in the lobby of Arena Players that will then put you in the physical emotion of it. And then once you sit down and you're seeing the play, you are physically, mentally, and emotionally invested in what you're seeing. And I thought that this was so important to show the rawness as actors and artists in texts of theater.
Hmm.
We don't like for people to see this. You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
we this part is so sacred to us. But I think, like every other area of the arts, we've had to become transparent. And because of this pandemic, we've been forced to show the ugly sides of when
Right.
things go wrong. You
It's
know,
it's a new world. It's a
yeah.
new world, and in the way we do theater moving forward from now here on now,
Hmm.
it's totally different than when we did it for 3 4 years
Right,
ago. We
right.
have to do it a
Hmm.
totally different way because
Yeah.
the world is different. We're walking out this pandemic totally different. So if you are still walking out this pandemic doing theater the same way before
Hmm.
the pandemic, it's not going to happen because the
Right.
Right.
world is different. So
Theater is
and
a
let
sacred space, and we have to
mhm.
respect the stage. We have to respect the audience, and I hope many of us came out with a stronger tie to our audience and respect for them, and vice
Mhm.
versa,
Yes.
our audience to us. You know,
Yeah.
because
Hmm.
like Troy said, we are never the ones that are sit down when catastrophes happen. We're the one that's able to continue to work. And how we've had to work has been so restricted to Zoom and StreamYard and Facebook
Right.
Live and such. And we've had to learn how to pivot. Some of the actors still haven't gone back to work because they don't want to do this. They
Mhm.
want
Yeah.
that experience of that liveness. So
Hey,
I appreciate you, Carltaise, for coming on and
thank you, Nate. I appreciate both of you.
Thank
thank
you.
Well,
I
thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Thank you to
thank you.
Maysa. Thank you to Easy. Thank you to Alisa Brock. I call her Brock. Alisa Brock is her name. Thank you to her. Thank you to you, Carltaise. We're still sending our prayers out for Tracie. And just
Yes.
keep the encouragement going as we're continuing to create. Next month, we'll have a panel of our phenomenal mothers of Black boys, Black men, and Black boys on. And we're going to continue that conversation with that phenomenal group in celebration of Women's History Month. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe to You Thought I Was Him Facebook page and Instagram page for all of our updates. Sure, you're steadily stealing pictures and taking snapshots and letting us know what's happening throughout the process. We have a few more community conversations happening, and the next you'll hear is from our writer circle, and we'll have them on soon once we get a stronger hold of our script. And once we get a little bit further in our next phase, we'll have the writers on, we'll have the actors on later in the process. So definitely, stay tuned. Keep following us. Like, share, subscribe, share with a friend. Tell your cousin Peaches, all of them. We're here and we're building. And November, what's the first weekend?
November 11th, we
November
open
11th. It opens.
11/11/22.
There we go. We open up. Oh, play that number. Play that number. Play that
Hmm.
number. We're opening up at the Arena Players. So tickets go on sale this in a couple more months. So be
Yep,
looking
we're going to
out.
do a special deal with that. Our tickets will go on sale June the 11th,
Mm-hmm.
and the regular ticket price is $25 per ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And however we're doing on June the 11th, tickets will be $20. It'll run from June 20th until September. No, June. Wait a minute. What did I say? June 11th.
Mm-hmm.
It's the wine. June the 11th
I know.
to uh-huh. June 11th to September 11th,
Mm-hmm.
and tickets will be $20. And then after September 11th, it will go up to the $25 price. And then
Mm-hmm.
if you wait to get it at the door, we could probably will jack it up a little bit more, and it will be sold out. So that's why
Mm-hmm.
we're encouraging you to do it in advance. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
So that means subscribing. So watching the show, subscribing, because you never know if Troy may feel a little bit and may say we may be dropping tickets tonight. So stay tuned for that. Also, actors, get your monologues together. This is not your grandfather's rehearsal audition process. We're looking for strong actors that can do everything. So
hmm
get your monologues ready, and be prepared for anything. Be open,
Yeah.
be prepared for anything.
Yeah, it's a new work. So a
Mhm.
lot of times actors, when they come into a new work, a piece of them go into it.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah.
Right. And Troy is great at folding in who you are and allowing you to merge his idea for the character with who you actually are. So come on, one and all. We need you to come on out. And this has been the second edition of, or second episode of You Thought I Was Him podcast. Tune in the third Monday of next week for the next one. And I believe that's the 26th of March. Am I not? Am I
Mm-hmm.
correct?
You are. It
The
would no. It would be
21st.
the 21st.
The 21st of
Yep.
March. So thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to put the information for the other guests for the day in the description so you'll be able to follow them as well. And thank you again to all Maysa, Easy, Alisa, and Carltaise for joining us. Peace out, people.
Bye, I love y'all.
Cheers.